I disagree about the context, the modern context being the actual driver. And we were talking earlier today before the show about the actual driver. It is biblical. It goes all the way back to Genesis, between the feud between Ishmael and Isaac, or the fact that the story says that Isaac was was chosen by God, and Ishmael is the father of the Arabs. Isaac's the father of the Jews. This is like the Hatfield and McCoy feud on steroids. It goes back thousands and thousands and thousands, 3,000 years or whatever. I don't know how far back, but people that put it into a modern context, I understand that, like, because there are things that inflame the tensions, but the tensions go far beyond just, it's deeper than Islam. Yeah. And that's the thing that most Americans don't realize. Americans think that it's about a religion, and it's not. It's an ethnic feud that goes far deeper than a religion.
I think that a lot of the tension comes from that, but the violence is coming from the colonization.
Sure.
It's you can always do a video chat and get past your hatred of each other, but if you're gonna die, you have no choice.
And some people can. I know this issue is particularly contentious. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to bring on. I'd love to bring on someone a journalist who has covered the Israeli perspective. Not that I think that you necessarily don't, but you do have your biases.
I wrote a book about the Israeli perspective. It's called Goliath, and I lived in Jerusalem in one of the most Jewish areas for almost a year, just trying to absorb that.
That's fair, but
I'm Jewish myself, and I came to this understanding by first going on the Birthright Israel trip, which is a free trip for Jews. It was then 18 to 25, and it's basically like the best sex vacation ever. Like, they want you to mate, they want Jews to have relationships because we're not we don't proselytize, so they're encouraging you to have sex with Israeli soldiers. It's a big party, but I got really, really into the situation there, and it was right at the dawn of the Second Intifada. Wow. And it affected me in a way that they didn't want it to. I mean, they did propagandize us.
So there are obviously a lot of people who we got some chats where they're saying it's great, you're a real journalist covering this because but then there are other people saying that you're a joke and you're wrong about this stuff. But I do want to point out the seemingly contradictory statement you made earlier. I would say seemingly in that the people's view of tribal politics. You had praise for Donald Trump's peace efforts before the show. I don't know if you want to...
Depending on which peace efforts
we're talking about. For sure. But we're talking about North Korea and South Korea, and you were saying, like, I won't speak for you. But
Crips and the Bloods.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one point to you real quick before I get into that. If Christians should be paying special attention to this conflict, because the Christians who live in Bethlehem, they have nothing to do with Hamas. They're not represented by any of these factions, but they are affected by occupation, and they are being forced out of their lands where they are carrying the tradition of the disciples. The Anastos family, who I know, had the separation wall built entirely around their home and shop, and that was the end of their existence there. They are directly descended from the disciples. So this isn't just about Jews and Muslims. And by the way, Jews and Muslims resisted the Crusaders in Jerusalem. We haven't always been enemies. But to your point about Trump, no, you wanted to say something?
Well, just I wanted to point out that the way you've characterized this, you've called Jews terrorists multiple times, and every time that anyone and then I talk about the fact that the operation was a terror operation, you push back on it. So I understand that you have a perspective, and it's totally cool. I'm not trying to say you're wrong for having an opinion or having a perspective, but I do want to point out you are characterizing the Israelis as Jews, and you talk about how far right and how bloodthirsty they are, and the terror attack you've been pushing back on and saying, well, it's not a terror attack and et cetera. So, I mean, I just wanted to call attention to it. It is not just that Jews are terrorists or that the Palestinians are terrorists. This particular issue, this particular flare up or whatever is because of a terrorist attack, but it's not that one side or the other are the bad guys and the good guys. Or at least I don't see it that way.
So. For me, it's about justice and injustice. One side is much more powerful than the other and has been abusing them historically. But Israel, to me, does not represent Judaism. To me, that's an anti-Semitic point of view. And actually, anti-Semites try to implicate all Jews by invoking Israel's crimes. I see Israel as embracing the philosophy of Zionism. And if you go to Brooklyn and you see all those ultra-Orthodox Jews from the Satmar clan, they're not Zionists. In many ways, they're anti-Zionist. So all Jews are not Zionists. Back to Trump. I mean, as we were saying before the show, I mean, I stood and cheered when he crossed the DMZ into North Korea. I never thought I would see an American president do that. And in so many ways, Trump going off script was the greatest thing about the Trump era. I never thought an American president would do that.